Welcome back. You're still watching Power Breakfast right here on Citizen TV, and we continue with our news review. And our panel just grew bigger. Senator Kimani Wamatangi from Kiambu just joined us. He's seated on my right, next to Bwana Omingo Magara, party leader PDP. And on my left now we have Kipruto Rapkiru as well, deputy party leader for ANC, as well as an aspirant for the Trans Nzoia Senate seat. Thank you, gentlemen. Karibuni sana. I did not want to go to the next headline before you join us. So just before the break, we were discussing the main headline on both dailies, and that has to do with Raila Odinga's illness. He was taken ill on Tuesday, but he's out of hospital. The reports are saying that he had a bout of food poisoning, but he's now well and he's set to travel to South Africa later today. I don't think we need to spend more time on that. Let's now move on to other bigger headlines, and I think the doctor's strike is one such headline. It is on the front page of the the Standard. Doctors ask for one more chance. Uhuru stands his ground. The national and county governments yesterday ruled out any further negotiations with the striking doctors. Now, speaking in Lodwar separately, Turkana County, President Uhuru Kenyatta said striking doctors must return to work before any negotiations can continue. And I want to quote him, as it's been quoted here by the Standard: "If you do not go back to work, you will go home, and we will employ other doctors. Go back to work as we discuss your salary increment. If you continue striking, it will be unacceptable." End of quote. Now, of course, the last 2 days we've seen the president coming out and resolutely saying it is done. We're no longer talking to the striking doctors. It is done. The same message was sent by chair of the COG, Bwana Peter Munya. He said that ship has sailed. No more talks. Just go back to work. There are discussions about getting doctors from Tanzania and Cuba, and we are moving on. Kenyatta National Hospital has already fired at least 12 doctors and given notices to 48 others. It is happening. Now that Bwana Kirwa is here, let's start with him. Bwana Kirwa, should this be the way?
Well, unfortunately, that's not the way, because under our constitution, each and every individual Kenyan has a right to work, and also has a right to protest, and also take off from work for purposes that are known within the confines of the labor laws. So that posturing by the government and also governance is something that is really regrettable, more so on the eve of a general election, and the fact that it has taken almost 94 days or more is also unfortunate, because some of these remedial measures should have been taken at the right time.
Bwana Wamatangi, we do understand, of course, that even the president is human, and you can only push him so far. Is that what has happened, that he's grown impatient and now he can't hold it any longer?
Well, I don't know probably how you feel. I mean, saying you means even several other Kenyans, but I think we must be honest and say that this has been pushed to absurdity now. I mean, it's been pushed beyond what you would call, you know, fair point. And I want to say this, just two very quick things. First, yesterday I saw a posting that got a lot of following on Twitter yesterday. Somebody tweeted and said that if matatus were on strike for 90 days, you would feel it, and there would be a big impact. If teachers were on strike for 90 days, you would feel it, and there would be a big impact. If probably any other sector did for 90 days, there would be a big issue. Then he finalized by saying that doctors, there's something you don't realize. The reason why it looks like it has normalized with a strike on for 90 days is because you lost Kenyans 20 years ago. Because you concentrated on your private practices and the things that you do on your own, that you're no longer with the people.
Senator, are you saying we are not feeling
Now, let me finish my point. Because that was a Kenyan airing his views. I'll tell you this, that this strike having been pushed up to 90 days plus tells you that something is completely amiss, very amiss. And I won't shy from saying this. You see, we've seen teachers on strike, and to a certain extent they say, yes, we've not gotten what we've gotten, but let's negotiate probably as we continue to work, or let's find some compromise. But this has been pushed and pushed and pushed, and yet the collateral damage is the lives of Kenyans.
Yes.
And that's what I want to say as a finalize, that I think one way or the other there has to be closure to this. And the closure, if that means then that government stands ground, governance stands ground, and doctors either go to the negotiating table when they are working, so be it.
Sorry, we have an animal of a constitution that really protects Kenyans with every bit of their rights. But remember also, your right ends where mine starts, because when you're striking also some people, some lives are being lost. But what we're saying here is, it is not right to grandstand and take some ultimatums that are also going to put us into more pain. What I'm looking at is that olive branch of extending an arm to reach your brother for purpose of continuity of a nation. I do not approve of one bit when we can start flexing our muscles today when we would have done it day two, because lives have been lost. Too little, too hard, too late, one point. Number two, and Dr. Karwale can confirm with us that it's true that some essential services like security, medical, and civil service should not ordinarily be unionized at the point of withdrawing services, because they're so essential to the fabric of society. Unfortunately, again, when you go to medical school, it is actually a calling, not a money-making thing. So I think both sides have an issue that they could seed ground in terms of the professional calling, and of course the administrators who have a right to protect and hold the nation together must also extend that caution to the extent that nobody of the citizenry is affected. I find it very painful that Kenyans have died, and we must stop this grandstanding bit. It does not help anybody. And again, I can see the doctors are was giving in a little inch, which is now. But I'm wondering why this could not happen then. But having shown the interest to seed ground, the government, the president, must quickly also therefore rethink his position. Sometimes when you whip your child, you don't have to be too hard. He needs to rethink that position and finalize this matter, if possible, tomorrow.
Now, when Omingo Magara, you speak about whipping the child, and the cartoon on page 14 of the Standard is about weeping as well, and it has to do with the doctor's strike. And we see the caricature of what appears to be President Uhuru Kenyatta weeping a female branded doctor or doctors, and what this gentleman with the whip is saying is, "Stay out of this, let me sort her out." And then someone in the background says, "It has been an abusive marriage." Yes? Daktari, as Bwana Omingo Magara says, probably some of these professions, especially military, medical, should not be unionizable. Is that where we went wrong? That probably having doctors unionized probably was a problem, and the negotiations are seeming endless.
Amend the Constitution. The Constitution never said that certain Kenyans would have the right to picket and others should. But more importantly, I want to appeal to the president. Rising to the position of head of state demands that he must keep his cool. However stretched, he must keep his cool. What he is doing, he's responding to advice, and the advice is being given is laughable. Laughable to this extent that if you grandstand, you will have fixed the health crisis. You will not. Whoever told the president that he'll get doctors from South Africa? The doctors in South Africa, the public hospitals are run by doctors from Kenya, in South Africa and Botswana. Whoever told the president that he'll get doctors from Cuba? Doctors from Cuba do not speak English. They speak Espanol. When they come here, they will not be able to treat patients. Whoever told the president that there are doctors in Tanzania to bring to Kenya, he should have known the ratio, the doctor to patient ratio in Kenya is better than the doctor to patient ratio in Tanzania. So President Uhuru and the chairman of COG are speaking from ignorance. And why they are feeding on it is because somebody has foolishly, I've seen it on social media, said that this is politics. That these doctors are doing this because it's politics. It's not politics. And when you are dealing with the decision makers, who are the decision makers in this matter? It is Wamatangi. It is Khalwale. It is Omingo. Our patients, our relatives, ourselves, we don't go to public hospitals when we are sick. The people who write these newspapers, they have insurance. The commentators on radio have insurance, and that's why you can hear a very loose statement from Wamatangi that because the strike has been on for 94 days, nobody's feeling it. It is true. The middle class and above cannot feel it. They don't go to public hospitals, so he's not feeling it. But I bury an average of 200 people in Kakamega County by dint of patients being discontinued from asthma clinics, clinics of diabetes, clinics of high blood pressure. The old woman, Wamatangi, listen to me, this is not a laughing matter. The old woman in Tigoni, illiterate, she's on antihypertensive drugs. The doctors have fixed 1 day in a month when she should go. When the drugs are finished, they coincide with the day of her arrival in the clinic. Now, when she goes there and she doesn't get the doctor, the old woman goes back home and she knows that her day will come next month. So in the next 30 days, she must die. They are dying, they are poor, you don't feel them. If it was a senator dying, we would all go there with choppers.
Let me say this to you. Let me say this to you, Senator Halwale. Because I think you not only missed my point, but you've twisted it intentionally. But let me say this to you. First, as a matter of a real life scenario, 2 days ago, I lost my own relative, mine. He was taken ill over the evening, taken to a hospital in a place called Gashi. There was no doctor. He was taken back to a hospital in Kikuyu. Before he could arrive in the hospital, he died. So, and when you say that the president in his action, or even the COG are reacting or acting to misadvice, if those Kenyans dying in that manner to you is misadvice, then you have no right to talk about anything laughable. But let me just summarize my point by saying this. You see, if you truly look at what Kenyans have said, Kenyans have almost resigned to that fate. And I would say the president has had now to act and act rightly. Because you can't now just sit and watch. But Kenyans have been beaten. I mean, you know, you cannot take your brother to go and treat your sister when they are sick. It is you doctors who are supposed to take that responsibility. And you remember when we had this conversation here some times back, I said to you, you know, you have been beneficiaries of institutions you never built yourself. You have been beneficiaries of training that you never contributed to yourselves. But you have come, you have found that Kenyans have paid these taxes, they built those institutions, given you the chance to be doctors. But instead, you have used it now to blackmail Kenyans. That's what we're saying. And you see, once doctors say that this is our position today and tomorrow and 94 days, and people continue to die, that is not normal. It's not ordinary. And that calls for action. There's no way
the other aspect that we've seen this week is with regard directly to this doctor strike is the president's temperament. When he spoke at the Devolution Conference in Naivasha on Tuesday, when he made his address to the conference, and he spoke about the doctor strike, even the choice of words, you could see he was clearly angry. But is this a matter to the approach to that kind of anger?
Well, I thought the president should be impersonal on some issues. He should rise above the rest of us, be head of state, head of government, and also a source of unity for Kenyans. But the way he has handled it is a bit below our expectations as Kenyans. Number two, this issue of doctors has been replete with a lot of challenges. We negotiate at some stage, we introduce somebody that is said to have signed the CBA, and yet he was not qualified to sign because he had already been taken away from the government. So at times you wonder whether the government has had positive intentions from the beginning. Because it is important that we look at this thing really impassionately, so that we resolve the problem. We cannot, the way Mheshimiwa Matangi said that Boni and the rest of the doctors benefited from institutions they never built. They have built other institutions after that because we were training them to come and serve the public. They have done it. You are not giving them something commensurate with the service they are providing to Kenyans. You look at the strike by lecturers, doctors. We must ask ourselves, are we paying these people something commensurate with what they are providing to the public?
About the on temperament, let me say this. I think the president is also human, but I think when you hold a particular office, there's a bit of calmness you expect it to have. And what I'm saying here is, he also, I think as a human being, feels the pain of Kenyans, bottom line. But you see, when he cracked the whip a bit, we can see the ground is a bit, softer as we speak today. But what I expect from my colleagues here is providing a solution for Kenyans to benefit from this stalemate. And if we look at it keenly, the doctors have a legitimate concern, really. You have no facilities in hospital, and sometimes I must confess, as a leader of this country, that our priorities are sometimes put upside down. Where we should put more emphasis, we do not. Because the doctors provide some core business that not other Kenyans can do. But then, as I said, you're right. It's where I start. Please also do not use your position of high-handedness in terms of where we cannot transfer that technology to somebody else to hold us at ransom. What I'm saying here is,
but there must be an end to this.
What I'm saying, as I finish, it is now incumbent upon us and the president to walk down a few steps as a leader, and they have extended down a branch. In 2 days, these doctors will go back to work.
And before we come to you, Senator Matangi, because I want you to react to what Senator Halwale will say with regard to this on the temperament. Don't you understand the president? Because this thing has gone on for 94, 95 days now. Surely, it has to come to an end at some point. All this, we even got religious leaders, divine intervention, it did not work. The courts have pronounced themselves, it is not working. Don't you feel the president's frustration that even when he comes out and appears angry in public with regard to the doctor's strike, that he could be actually justified?
I started by saying we demand of him to keep his cool. Because he's the commander-in-chief. He has the monopoly of force. He can use it well or use it badly. Listen to his words. The president tells doctors of medicine that you people, we know you go to work, you work for 2 hours, you go to your private clinics. Clearly he doesn't know what he's talking about. The majority of the doctors we are dealing with are young doctors. The standard of practice of medicine is that it is the specialists who have got private medical practices. They're the ones who live and go to their private medical practices. But these younger doctors sometimes work 24 hours without a break. The Hippocratic oath that we've taken demands that if you are an anesthetist and you are in theater dealing with emergency services, you cannot leave theater until your relief comes. If he doesn't come, you stay in that theater for 24 hours, Mr. President. So it clearly means that whoever is telling him the doctors work for 2 hours is misadvising.
So his frustration is misplaced.
That frustration of his should not be there. Your Excellency, there are a lot of people you can hire to advise you on health. He must accept that he cannot be a jack of all trades. Doctors do a fantastic job. They don't work for 2 hours. And let me tell you, Matangi, I am a doctor. When I was working at Kenyatta National Hospital in the emergency ward, it is called, at the emergency called casualty, in a period of 12 hours at night, 6 girls, an average of 6 girls come into casualty with something we call in medicine ectopic pregnancy, whereby mtoto amelala nje ya nyumba ya kizazi and then it bursts, the girl starts bleeding inside. Every day, every night, an average of 6. That has not stopped. What is only happening is that they come to Kenyatta, it happens in the villages and they are buried. You cannot laugh with it. President Uhuru, let me nail before you today, vacate that. The solution, I can speak on authority, my colleagues, that this thing was now coming to an end. In fact, it could have ended today. They were about to reach an end during those negotiations. The doctors talked to me. So if the president can just, as Omingo has said, just climb down the ladder a little bit, give a chance to these talks to end, it will be over.
Yes. Senator, when the president loses his cool like that, it means nothing can go on, because we cannot go beyond the president. He's lost his cool and he said this is it. Then what do we do?
Come on, guys, let's be realistic. We are living in this country, all of us together. None of us live outside and we come here to visit in the morning. That suffering you're talking about, we live with it. We see it every day, and no one is shielded from it, and even feeling it. Not even the president. Actually, if you'd ask me, I would tell you, although I've never been president, but from my understanding, he feels it more. He sees it from a wider scale and from a higher perspective. But let me say this, and let us not forget facts or either twist them. One, remember that the president had actually invited doctors to Mombasa. And remember, they went and visited him and they sat and they had negotiations. Immediately after those negotiations, they came out and they said, sorry, we will not accept. Remember, these events that we are talking about now come immediately in the backdrop of an offer of a 50% increment. That was already on the table, that they rejected, they refused to take. And so come on, gentlemen. Yes. This is our country. These are our relatives, they are our friends, they are fellow Kenyans who are dying. We must, let me tell you, Bonnie, even if it was me as a legislator, and the lives of Kenyans is in the line, and I am grandstanding myself, and you try to persuade me, all of you, that Wamatangi Kenyans will continue. If it gets to that point, then you have to deal with me. But you have to deal with me. And so you cannot try to excuse those Kenyans you are describing, those young girls who have come to die in Kenyatta with those fallopian pregnancies, will continue because we want to look good or nice, and then we can allow this continue indefinitely.
But can I ask a question? I need to be guided in here. For example, we are now taking this deal to the highest office of the land. Yes. Are we therefore saying institutions of reconciliation, healing, and canvassing of this matter, including Parliament with the two gentlemen say it, has failed? So where do we have exactly? So how do we then pass back to finger pointing and say you have failed, when we must also accept in our efforts at the lower level we also failed? But now we need to take a step back.
Omingo, if I was head of state, let me say it now,
what would you do?
If I was head of state, I would do the following. Yes. I would remember that under the Constitution, health is fully devolved. I, as president, I would be demanding of governors to ensure that they bring the strike to an end.
But they've sat with those people.
Can you relax?
For days on end.
I would be demanding of governors. Number two, I, as head of state, I would be demanding of the permanent secretary to remove the budget at Afya House to go to counties, so that money, 60 billion, is held at Afya House to go and be used to run these services.
We are talking about the strike.
Finally,
about ending the strike.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. The money is there. Finally, if I was head of state, I would give priority to the lives of the poor. The money to pay the doctors is just as urgent as the money you'd want to deal with drought. The money you would need to deal with hunger. It is not a joke. Hunger kills, illness is skill. Thirst kills, illness is skill. So it should be treated in the same manner.
Say to Kenyans, I'm afraid. Say to Kenyans that given a 50% increment is not a starting point. And you say, when Omingo says, and rightly so, let's accept we failed. I mean, the team in the ministry failed. They couldn't get to a compromise, including religious leaders, including the Senate committee itself. I mean, so who are you going to listen to?
Did you know? Just a minute. Did you know that?
When you try to bring the holier than thou attitude, and also We cannot advocate or try to promise cosmetic, changes into this, or an introduction of something that will not work. Because by now, doctors would have been working.
This thing is doable. If you go to Bomet, doctors are in hospital. The governor has been able to create a template, create a situation which can be used as a template by other governors.
But remember,
the president should be telling governors, go and do what I said.
But remember, the governor had actually chased KPMG officers who had come in a hotel to say that, which is okay.
As far as the
problem.
The court has pronounced itself on the matter, nothing. We tried the court to Secretary General, nothing. We even tried the religious leaders, nothing. The president is angry. Where do we go from here?
Well, I think the president should realize that he's still the president of Kenya, and Kenyans demand of him to be fair to all of them. This issue of saying they will bring doctors from other countries is something that is unthinkable. We cannot be solving our problems by bringing people from other countries. How many doctors can you bring to Kenya that will resolve the problem? As my colleagues have said, let the president take 2 steps down, accept the reality. He should not be annoyed. In fact, in the first place, he should not have been annoyed, because he's supposed to be dealing with issues. If he's annoyed with doctors, then he should also be annoyed with the drought. Then he should also